February 2014 and February 2016, in the landscape of the Treia Valley, an innovative project of site preservation was funded by the Archaeological Institute of America. Here, in the ancient Ager Faliscus, the land of the Faliscans, in 1890 the town of Narce was discovered, surrounded by thousands of tombs in different cemeteries. The necropolis of La Petrina, with tombs from the 8th to the 1st century BC, near the cliff made of volcanic rocks, was abandoned, and in the area toxic and dangerous waste was thrown, destroying this beautiful landscape. This abandonment called for the involvement of the local community of the modern village of Mazzano Romano in the preservation of their archaeological site. The activities of adopting Narce began in May 2014 and involved students of the local junior high school. The students at La Petrina rediscovered the archaeological site and created their own maps of the necropolis with sketches for the new gate, which was designed to protect the site. It was an adventurous and emotional activity. Along with the school outdoor visit, a close collaboration with the rangers of the regional park Valle del Treia resulted in the first cleaning of the site from the investing weeds. After the beginning of the project, in a public lecture for locals during the night of the museums, we presented the history of the early excavations of the necropolis and the story of the arrival in the United States of the artifacts from La Petrina. The ships, which carried legally and illegally ancient artifacts to the US, were the same on which poor migrants from Mazzano Romano reached the US. To commemorate it, we arranged a theatrical reading of the two parallel stories, the artifacts and the people from La Petrina, together with the traditional folk songs of the Italian migration. At the same time, the recent discovery in the archives of Palazzo Venezia in Rome of the photos of individual tomb groups from La Petrina as they were displayed in the first opening in 1892 of the Etruscan Museum of Villa Giulia permitted to virtually recreate this first exhibit in May 2014. It is important to mention that most of the tomb groups discovered in the late 19th century are now lost. This virtual exhibition took place at the local museum, MAVNA, in the municipality of Mazzano Romano, which has been the hub of all the activities of the Adopting Narce project. Rich female burials of the 8th and 7th century BC from La Petrina reveal the characteristics of the ancient Faliscan society. The locals, during the exhibition, realized once again the need to protect the place where all these amazing artifacts originated. Visitors were able for the first time to explore this unique exhibition, understanding the importance of Narce for the history of Italian archaeology. At this same time, this exhibition resulted in a selection of number of locals who expressed their willingness to take an active part in the project, participating as volunteers. More than 1,000 visitors visited the exhibition in the first month after the opening. All the summer activities of the MAVNA Museum have been focused on the discovery and protection of the site within a special summer program at La Petrina. Daily visits to the sites were organized for the local community, taking advantage of the summer weather. These first visits permitted us to trace, together with the visitors, the path that would later become the archaeological trail of the necropolis. One beautiful summer night, we organized a lecture within the abandoned church of San Nicola in the medieval center of Mazzano Romano. The lecture was focused on the spaghetti western movies set at La Petrina. In fact, near the canyon, more than 100 spaghetti western movies were filmed in the valley between the 1950s and 1960s. a much cheaper endeavor than flying to Colorado. For the lecture, we selected different parts of the movies to recreate the archaeological record of the ancient necropolis. The movies also show the landscape as it was before the construction of a large road which has partially destroyed the necropolis. The entire summer was devoted to the organization of the first intensive cleaning activities on the site, Pulizia Ecologica, scheduled for the end of September 2014. Here, since the 60s, infesting weeds have been covering the small plateau of the necropolis, in the valley, the tombs, and the funerary altar. The areas selected to be cleaned follow the archaeological trail designed by the students of the school at the beginning of the project and experienced during the first summer visits to the site. The infesting weeds, in accordance with the regional park, were removed, together with the trash, especially in the area of the ancient funerary road that was ascending the necropolis. The funerary altar was also cleaned, revealing beneath it tombs already looted in all its sides. This path was now for the first time accessible in its ancient course. The path in the upper plateau gave an easy access to reach the site from the main entrance on the street. This entire activity was carried on with the collaboration of the Association of Volunteers, Mondo Borgo. During the autumn and winter of 2014-2015, we created the new archaeological map of the necropolis and virtually designed panels with the explanation that would go along the path. The first panel was planned to be set along the ancient funerary road. A second one was planned to be near the tufa platform of the funerary altar in the center of this section of the necropolis. The third one at the entrance of a small valley with chamber tombs. The fourth one at the junction between the different ancient streets of the necropolis. In this month, we devoted a great effort to work on a new fence. Before the beginning of the project, especially the area facing the provincial road, had always been unprotected, warranting a sort of open gate to the tomb looters and to the barbaric visitors who used the site to throw their trash, transforming the necropolis in a rubbish dump. The old entrance was falling apart since nobody controlled the keys of its padlock, and it was easy as well as dangerous for anyone to climb it or pass through its rusty bars. The first part of the activities related to the fence consisted in the identification and removal of the trash, also including, unfortunately, dangerous Eternit. Infesting weeds, which have been growing for ages on the side of the street, were finally cut. Once the entire area was cleaned, we traced the orientation of the new fence. According to the guidelines suggested by the regional park Valle del Treia, the entire fence was made in wood. Also the new gate, as well as the different stairs and panels on the sides, were made in wood, as well as some of the steps along the path near the tombs. Together with the construction of the new fence, we have been working on the creation of the panels. We put a special effort in making them resistant to the environmental and weather conditions. The location of some of them was slightly modified from the original plan in order to follow security reasons and to adapt them to the path. In addition, a gable roof protects its panel. The panel at the gate of the entrance to the necropolis has been placed behind the fence in order to protect it from the frequent acts of vandalism. All the activities were carried by a local company expert in environmentally friendly structure. After the interior cleaning of the 3 selected chamber tombs, we began working in front of them in order to create the trail, allowing visitors to walk near the facades. Part of the path around the tombs and the rock-cut funerary altar uses the ancient stairs, which would have been visible in the ancient mortuary landscape. Dangerous holes made by the tomb looters were finally filled, and together with conservators from the Istituto Superiore per la Conservazione e il Restauro, we began the process of monitoring cracks in the natural tufa bedrock, and especially on the architraves of the tombs. As part of the Adopting Narce project, the local volunteers joined the association Friends of MAVNA. These volunteers will be responsible for the maintenance of the site after the end of the 2-year project, and began their training by organizing the Night of the Museum in 2015 and the first visits in the necropolis on horseback. After the success of the activity Cleaning La Petrina, we organized the second day of cleaning in April 2015, focused especially on the area that was not accessible in the park due to the infested weeds. This important activity was focused on collecting the impressive amount of trash abandoned at only 50 meters west of the tombs. This event was organized in collaboration with 2 associations of volunteers, the Amici del MAVNA and the Mondo Borgo. All the volunteers put a tremendous effort in cleaning this part of the necropolis. In order to present to a larger public the preliminary results of the project, we decided to organize a national exhibition in the MAVNA Museum devoted to the site of Narce. Funded by the Regional Park Valle del Treia, together with the Sovrintendenza per i Beni Archeologici dell'Etruria Meridionale, we excavated part of the sanctuary on the lower slopes of the ancient city of Narce, facing La Petrina. From this sanctuary, from the 6th century to the early 1st century BC, the funerary procession would climb along the road that was reaching the tombs. In October 2014, we discovered a votive deposit consisting of more than 300 terracotta masks, iron votive keys, and several terracotta heads. The Sovrintendenza provided the showcases for the exhibitions, the volunteers helped in cleaning the finds discovered, and the conservators worked on the conservation and designed the display of the artifacts. Almost 600 people came at the opening of the exhibition Times of Ritual. Together with Dr. Marianna De Lucia Brolli, we published the catalogue of the exhibition. Starting with the kindergarten children, who made copies of the masks in clay, the activities continued in collaboration with the local high school. The students participated in a competition for painting the signs along the archaeological trail. These signs, which were finished by the volunteers of Friend of MAVNA, indicate the new number of the trail given by the regional park. At the same time, the students of the elementary school were involved by writing a story about the history of La Petrina. The different moments in the evolution of the site are represented as different chapters in the story. In the story, two young kids, Marco and Irene, discover a magic gate, and through that they enter into a forest where they meet a shining warrior with a white horse and an ancient priest making sacrifice. During the summer, together with a series of tours to the surrounding archaeological sites, in order to make them known to the local community, new activities of cleaning and maintenance of the site were organized. These ordinary activities, carried out by the tireless local volunteers, were also accompanied by readings of the excavation journal of June 1890, when the necropolis was initially discovered. We organized a series of weekends at La Petrina, using different narratives. In this way, the association Friends of MAVNA got to know even better the archaeological site of Narce. Autumn arrived at La Petrina, and following the outdoor activities of the summer, we continue with a number of indoor events organized with the purpose of disseminating the project adopting Narce. A series of public lectures addressed the theme of ancient ritual, as well as the link between the archaeological projects found on Narce and the identity of the local community of Mazzano Romano. A great result was that several groups of locals, after attending these lectures, decided to join the Association of Volunteers. From this point on, the volunteers began to organize and oversee activities for children within the museum. Children made drawings of the magic animals of the ancient Faliscans, as they were represented in the orientalizing vases discovered at La Petrina. At the same time, new activities were organized for adults, while the children were creating magic keys for the entrance of the archaeological site, similar to the ancient iron keys discovered in the sanctuary. Among the different activities of the Adopting Narce project, an important part was devoted to the reconstruction of the ancient topography of the necropolis and to the drawing of the architecture of the funerary structures. This process was conducted by professional archaeologists and conservators and focused especially on the funerary altar. Some of the volunteers took part in the operation of drawings of the funerary altar. It was an important occasion of collaboration between young scholars and the local community. All the drawings were prepared in order to be added on the panel along the path. Between December 2015 and January 2016, while we approached the opening of the site to public, the panels were finally ready. The text was written both in Italian and in English, and the printing was done by a small local company using material resistant to wind, rain, and sun. While slowly, the panels were placed along the path, the necropolis began to get alive again, in a continuous narrative along the ancient funerary road, the altar, and the chamber tombs. Photos and drawings for the panels had already been prepared, and after almost 2 years of work, we were finally able to plan the opening of the site. This opening was scheduled for the end of January 2016, following a final cleaning focused on the altar, which brought to light its original surface. The collaboration with the regional park Valle del Treia resulted in the first archaeological guidebook of Narce, with a long chapter focused on the necropolis of La Petrina, using data from the previous 2 years. A new map was also prepared, and the archaeological trail received now a number 25 on the itineraries within the park. The site was also added on Google Maps. The big weekend of the inauguration arrived, and more than 400 people participated to different visits that took place during the 2 days. In addition to the narration of the history of the site, from his discovery in June 1890 to the project adopting Narce, we involved the association Ludis Caenici in the recreation of the funerary procession which in antiquity ascended the funerary road and reached the plateau, the altars and the tombs. For the first time, it has been possible not only to walk through this funerary landscape, but also to experience it by hearing the ancient music echoing along the funerary road. The ancient procession within the necropolis was coming from the sanctuary along the Treia River, at the foothills of the necropolis, and in this area reached the altar, which was located in a dominant position over the valley. Since the surface of the altar, in the form of a platform, was characterized by the presence of small dug channels, we hypothesized that they might be used during funerary rituals connected with the tombs below this altar. The Ludis Caenici here gave a representation of these rituals, which probably involved the use of different liquid such as wine, milk, honey, and probably blood from sacrifices. Turning towards the valley, the musicians of the Ludis Caenici referred to the prayers that in antiquity were devoted to the underworld and the souls of the dead in the chamber tombs beneath this altar. All the participants were astonished by the ability of the Ludis Kaeniki to bring to life this sacred landscape. Even for a little bit, the visitors took part in the ceremonies that took place on the altar and continued to follow the funerary procession along a secondary road until the core of the necropolis, the area of the rediscovered chamber tombs.
Vi racconto dove siamo e quello che avete visto. Ovviamente potete notare che poggio i miei piedi sopra una piattaforma subacquea che sembrerebbe una normale roccia, d'altronde il nome Petrina.
Along this secondary road, which served only a part of the cemetery, the different tombs, which have been cleaned during the Adopting Narce project, created the perfect scenario for the ending of this project. The funerary altar is located just above these tombs, which correspond to the well-known types of chamber tombs and testify to the latest use of the necropolis between the 5th and the 4th centuries BC. The necropolis, with the doors of the tombs facing the street, as if they were small houses, gives the impression of how Narce, the city of the living, would have appeared, while very few remains of houses survive nowadays. As in a symbolic dialogue between the living and the dead, the Ludis Kaeniki help the visitor to perceive the complexity of this sacred funerary landscape. Here, in the past, the community of Narce would come to mourn their ancestors, celebrate some of its festivals, and reaffirm its identity as Faliscans. And this is where our project ends. The necropolis of La Petrina has been transformed from an abandoned place devastated by tomb looters and used mainly as a garbage dump to an archaeological park managed by the local community. The project Adopting Narce, funded by the Site Preservation Grant of the Archaeological Institute of America, gave us the opportunity to do good archaeology by helping a community to rediscover its identity, to protect its part, and to wish for a better future.